baby. It's that time again. Mother's Day. It's Mother's Day. It's Mother's Day.
Yep.
That's what I meant,
Once
guys.
again.
What is everybody? Welcome to the pregame show.
Let's go. Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's
Presented
go.
by Bet365. Never ordinary. Certainly not tonight. The next biggest game of the year. We thought last game was the biggest game. Turns out this is the biggest game now. Game 4 as the Nuggets look to even the series, get a second win on the road. Is it a must-win? We're going to ask that question. We're going to talk about playoff Murray, and is there an indication that he finally arrived a little bit late, but maybe he is here to stay? In other words, is it Miller time?
Oh, man.
The other presenting sponsor of the show. The other presenting sponsor of the show.
It's definitely Miller time.
And, of course, we're going to be doing it all here from the Toyota Lounge. Driven by your Front Range Toyota stores. Toyota, the official partner of DNVR. Brendan Vogt just walked here.
What is up, gang? Beautiful day. Started rainy. Didn't love it as an omen.
I loved it.
Except, here's the thing. The clouds parted. The sun came out, and I realized what the Nuggets have an opportunity to do here tonight in Minnesota. I'm really excited. Really excited.
Over here, rocking the Lucky Serbia shirt. It's D-Line Co.
That's right. You know what, guys? Every day is a new day. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Today's a new day. We win this series. Tomorrow is a brand new day. Everything's in front of us. Nothing's behind us, dude. Let's go. I'm ready for this. I should have gotten a Mother's Day brunch.
Oh, man, you should have done it. If they win tonight, tomorrow's a lovely day is what
Lovely
it's going
day.
to be.
Lovely day.
And then rounding out the show, the man with the win behind the hat, Harrison Wynn.
I'm ready to go, guys. Made a pregame pit stop at Circle K.
Okay.
Got filled up on a Polar Pop. I'm ready to go, man.
You're
ready
popped?
to go.
Filled up on a Polar Pop. I love that, man. Game 4, we got Superstar Dev is in Minneapolis. He'll be joining the post-game show. Super producer Kale on the ones and twos. What do we have for game notes, Wind?
Game notes come to us via Superstar Dev. Doing a great job documenting everything that's going on in Minnesota right now.
Great job.
Chris Finch pregame. He said that, coming back home to Minnesota after those 2 games in Denver, he felt like the layoff made the team feel fat and lazy.
Oh, damn.
That layoff between games 2 and 3. And the Timberwolves didn't respond while the Nuggets got their attention.
That was very true, by the way. Of all the things that went right, Denver made a lot of adjustments. We're going to go over some of them. The Wolves were definitely feeling themselves too much.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
The world fed the Wolves.
Oh,
yeah.
Overfed the Wolves.
Yeah,
and they
for
got
sure.
4 days of just completely overstuffing.
Yep.
Yeah. Nikola Alexander-Walker got banged up and ejected in that last game. Hurt his shoulder, too.
Was that on that legal screen?
Depending on who you ask, either community notes on Twitter or Chris Finch.
Okay.
Difference of opinions there. But Chris Finch said no limitations for Alexander Walker heading into Game 4 tonight. On the topic of illegal screens, Chris Finch said, quote, "Their screening was super physical. I thought a lot of it was illegal."
Oh.
Those are
Okay.
his thoughts.
Dude, that's loser behavior. I love it. That's loser behavior.
This is kind of what happens in the playoffs from everybody, though.
Listen,
It's playing the game.
they're trying to play the game, and it's going to be a major storyline. We'll talk about it. But at the same time, loser behavior. What do? I love. Who was it that put it on? Real G's move in silence,
Like
Or
lasagna?
like Jokic. Somebody said Real J's. Here's the thing, man. The Nuggets, I'm sure, complained a lot about Game 2's physicality. You just didn't hear about it. Why? So there's a little message sending to your team when you're like, they're being unfair. They're screening us unfair. Everybody tell everybody.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. It's the playoffs.
Michael Malone on Minnesota's physicality. He said, look, this is the playoffs. Regardless of the referees, they will come out very aggressive, very physical. We don't just have to match it. We have to exceed their physicality. And, Michael Malone expects a big game from Anthony Edwards tonight, he said. He said he expects Edwards to bounce back in a big way. So Denver has to be ready for that. And just on the topic of getting the momentum in the series again, Michael Malone said, look, I don't feel like anything momentum-wise has swung in our favor. We won 1 game. We're still down 2-1. We did what we needed to do to stay in the series. But he definitely doesn't want the Nuggets to get fat and lazy like the Timberwolves got, for sure. And for Denver, Jamal Murray, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Reggie Jackson, all listed as questionable coming into this game like they have been for these first 3 games of the series. They're good to go. They are playing.
Love it. That up?
That's what I got.
Fatigue probably a factor in this one. I mean, honestly, like you only get the 2 days rest. This is a huge one where can the Nuggets dig deep? Here's a theory I have on the last game. We're going to do some hangover takes now, / notebook notes. One of my takes is I think Denver, obviously the rest helped them out, but there's something mentally when you go, this is how it's going to feel every time now. Just how do I handle this now? Not hope that you're going to feel better, but this is how I'm going to feel, so how do I adjust? And I think there was a little bit of that. Obviously, Murray's the high-profile one because you need him to be great. But I think there's a little bit of this from Aaron Gordon, KCP, Nikola Jokic, all these guys that are like, all right, it's going to hurt. We're not going to feel ourselves. We just have to suck it up and go out there. What do you think?
Yeah, they had to kind of embrace what it looked like. Now, ironically, we thought that would mean winning a rock fight, and it meant winning by 30. But there was something, too, I think, just... understanding that this wasn't going to be a series where everything would go their way, that they would cruise through, that they would get every call. And as much as the officiating did change in Game 3, I also thought Denver their focus was better, right? They weren't as caught up on what every coach would call an uncontrollable factor, which is how the ref feels that night about how the game should be officiated. But you can adjust your game from there. And I do think it happened a little bit. And I think, we do forget, like, the Wolves' defensive game plan stunned Denver in Game 1. They've seen it before. Aaron Gordon's seen it before. Jokic has seen it before. All these guys have. So, it can work and it can stagger them, but series are long, and players and coaches get time to sort of say, look, I understand what my job is. Even if it means I'm moving uphill in this series, I know it has to be done.
Guys, I have some notebook notes for you, and just want to hear. Here's some things that I noticed upon rewatch, which I did today, by the way. Rewatch of Game 3.
Ooh.
Nice.
Number
nice
one.
flex, dude. Grinding tape.
Man, on Mother's Day.
Holy smokes. Normally I grind tape right after deep into the morning.
Yeah.
For personal reasons, celebrated Mother's Day yesterday, guys.
Okay.
I don't want to
Nice.
get into it, but nonetheless, today.
I had to grind
into
tape.
Hard. Do you guys want to know what I noticed or not? Is this not?
I would love to know.
Harder
Yeah.
screens first and foremost.
No, I don't actually.
Jokic setting harder screens, I think, is a real adjustment. Contrary to popular opinion, hard screens are not always best. One of the reasons you set hard screens against Minnesota is you've got Gobert in the paint. He's not going to leave. He's a secondary guy. So no matter what, the switch isn't going to help, especially if it's not Gobert. Those switches aren't going to help as much, and you're not going to get all the way to the cup. So a harder screen allows Murray to get into that mid-range where he can operate and allows for pieces to move around a little bit more for Denver to set the table. They also ran a lot of empty pick and roll with them, meaning 3 floor spacers on the opposite side, Murray and Yoke operating on one side. Why do they do that? To bring Karl-Anthony Towns further to the baseline. When you're turning that corner, if you think in pick and roll, usually a guy can just kind of hold position for a second. Everybody stunts in. There's a lot of help. You crowd the paint, and then everybody can recover behind it. Empty pick and roll, you're going to that side, and Cat has to cover like 20 feet of space while Yoke stretches him out. And what it did is it forced a lot of switches there. Denver was able to maximize it. So this, to me, the reason I bring this up is Denver had a very clear strategy. And I honestly think they had a clear strategy going into Game 2. With no Gobert there, this is a Gobert adjustment. And without him there, it doesn't, there's no point to it. I think Denver looked very comfortable knowing that those two things, the harder screens and trying to empty one side, overload one side, I think that they feel very comfortable doing that against Minnesota because it takes away their favorite mode of defense.
Yeah, great adjustments for sure. And, we've seen that. Michael Malone by now, he's a proven playoff adjuster. Middle of series, after you get past the first couple of games, he usually pushes the right buttons. And I think that just the familiarity that the Nuggets have with the Timberwolves, how often they've played them, and then what they saw in games 1 and 2, great adjustments.
Yeah, I mean, the adjustments were the story of the game last game, I thought. Like, not only, I mean, they showed themselves very early on, like the first couple offensive possessions as well, just the way that they had it almost looked scripted, the way that everybody was sort of in place, ready to go, passing it around, easy dunks. Murray hitting shots obviously helps quite a bit, but they just came very prepared into that last game. Like, I expect this game to be the game that's like more of the rock fight that we were expecting, where both teams have had a second to take a breath, like think about like, okay, if they do this, what will we do? Like, I definitely expect, whether it's tonight or the next game, to start to see Karl-Anthony Towns running with the bench a little bit and like start to stretch out like what, because these are adjustments they've made in the past and like can take advantage of their depth in that they have two actual centers on the court at any point in time. So we'll see like where that comes from. But I love how confident the Nuggets played last time. It was just they weren't even like they weren't like even that excited for it. Was just like very workmanlike, very formulaic, and they just beat them down systematically. It was beautiful. I hope I want to see it again.
Another thing, though, you just mentioned you think Cat goes to the bench more. They tried to play Jokic without Gobert for some possessions. They did it in the first game and in the third one. The Nuggets were hyper prepared for that. Remember, Murray played longer stints with Jokic in this game. They would go 4 shooters and Jokic, knowing that if Gobert's not there, they were just going to try to trap. And Denver with 4 shooters, Murray, KCP, Holiday, MPJ, they were getting wide open looks every single time. And again, one of the things I'm looking for tonight is I think the Wolves have to adjust their rotation. McLaughlin, Kyle Anderson, those guys got cooked.
Yeah.
But even trying to play minutes against Jokic without Gobert, cooked. And that's another thing that I think I look at, and the Wolves are going to say, okay, we can't do that. But there's trickle-down effects when they adjust their rotation.
Well, that was one of the things in Game 3 was just that. Like, their rotation was a plan B or a plan C for the first time in the series.
Right.
So whether it's foul trouble or just putting Jamal Murray in different positions to succeed and making Finch and Norrie think twice about the personnel that's out there. And getting McLaughlin out there was a really interesting choice. And interesting is a kind word for it, I think. So you want to force them to just be scrambled a little bit. Because everyone's plan A is good for the postseason. But a big part of a 7-game series and making it all the way to 16 wins is what do you look like when you can't go to plan A? Denver has that advantage, I think.
Here's one last thing for you guys on the offensive end. I've been talking about it a lot. Them in a set defense versus them in transition against cross matches, it's a big deal. Typically, a set defense, 105 defensive rating, a scramble defense, 120. Okay, that's a normal range. In Game 3, the Wolves had a 102 defensive rating after they made a shot, got back, set their defense. 102, that's really good. They had a 149 defensive rating every time Denver got a stop.
Wow.
That's 1.5 points per possession they had every single time. The Wolves cannot guard them when they get cross matches. And on top of that, Denver did a much better job of creating cross matches even in the half court on dead balls. So to me, this is why I feel like Denver, I mean, let's see, the tired legs, all this stuff. But that part where Denver seems to know how to get them out of their comfort zone defensively, and we're so dialed in on, we got to stop, everybody sprint, we got to create these cross matches. That was probably the single biggest key of Game 3.
Totally. And it starts on defense there. Games 1 and 2, the lasting image in my mind is McDaniels, Alexander Walker picking up Jamal Murray at half court and not even allowing the Nuggets to get into their offense. Yeah. But when you're in transition, that just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You get easy baskets, you get into your offense easier. It's a huge key, absolutely.
Yeah, and also I think they just made a very simple adjustment, the Nuggets, of just having not people other than Jamal Murray bring the ball up.
Right, Aaron Gordon a lot, which you can do against
Christian
Gobert.
Brown too.
Yeah, it seems like a silly thing, but it's wild how well it worked, how effective it was.
100%. Look for AG to bring the ball up a lot. Again, the key is to not get in half-court situations because no matter who brings the ball up, it's still tough. But look for him to do that. On the defensive end, Denver doubled Ant every time he ISO'd KCP and turned his back to the basket. So every time he tries to back him down, Denver just said, you know what, no. We're going to trap you. And Ant honestly had a pretty bad game reading those traps.
Yeah. 5 turnovers.
5 turnovers, and he just struggled with it. And that Ant reading the court is you have a lot better chance of beating him there than you do Ant not making shots one-on-one. He's so good one-on-one, especially against KCP. Denver made that adjustment. And then getting Jokic off of pick and roll on Naz Reid. Naz Reid murdered Denver in Game 2 and Game 1 in the fourth quarter. Getting a way for Jokic to guard him, they'll run a ball screen, Jokic will trap, and then they'll rotate somebody else onto Naz Reid so that Jokic rotates behind it. That's an adjustment that might only have worked for one game because then you build in some certain counters. But Denver clearly recognizes that Naz Reid pick and pops are really tough for them to guard and have come up with what I would call a pretty complex scheme to cover for it. And Naz Reid was a 0 factor in Game 3.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they just also didn't let Naz Reid get free on those open threes. I mean, he was shooting practice gym shots in Games 1 and 2. and just Denver's defense was lazy and they weren't connected, and all across the board, just so much more locked in.
The only other note I have here, Jokic and Aaron Gordon are going to need to make threes. When I went back to rewatch, the thing that stood out to me is Aaron Gordon's threes were deliberate. It felt to me like Denver came out of the half going, we're going to run a play for you to take a three, and we'll run another one if we need to. So we're kind of wondering, like, why is AG shooting all of a sudden? I think it was a thing where they knew they had a cushion, and it was like, hey, they're going to just not guard you at all.
Right.
And they put him in position where he would be wide open. I think AG made three. Jokic and AG combined need to combine for three. That's how I would say it. If they do that, I think they're going to make them pay. Those are my notebook notes. All right, let's go into this one here. Is this a must-win? Is this a must-win? Game 3 was a must-win. You can't go down 0-3. Game 4, mostly a must-win?
Mostly. I mean, everyone wants to get emphatic and say 100% it is. Of course, it is not literally 100%. We've seen the Nuggets come back from 3-1. Alas, this is not the bubble. This is a better team that they're playing. You got to win this one. The flip side of... No, well, not even the flip side. The opportunity here is just all the pressure that you could put on the Minnesota Timberwolves, I think, within the first 12 minutes of this game. Because the Wolves were a strong first half away from the entire city believing on the same page that they are going to win a championship. A good Game 3 first half away. And they didn't get that. And doubt crept in, and that game got tighter, and guys missed shots, and that crowd got quiet. And I think Denver's just got a chance now to you come out swinging in this first half, and these guys are possibly, if not probably, going to tighten up. And you've got them thinking for the first time all postseason. I think Denver knows that. I think you have to look at this as a must-win, even if it technically isn't. And that's why I think this is a game. I have really high expectations for Jokic. Really high expectations for Jokic in this game. I think he's been so much better in the postseason than he's gotten credit for. But the tier 1A Godzilla mode, only 3 players could ever play like this kind of stuff, however you want to describe it. We haven't quite seen that one game yet. And I think Jokic reminds me most of LeBron James in his ability to read when to put his foot on the gas pedal and when not to in any single game, across a season, across a series. And I would think that Jokic probably sees this as the turning point in the series. Some weird stuff happened. You survived. It's 2-1. If he goes out there individually and just insists and makes sure he's the best player on the floor, they have a chance to change this entire series, and he knows it, and so I expect him to play accordingly.
For what it's worth, on rewatch, I thought Jokic stood out the most in terms of, I thought he was good in the game, like very good. But I actually thought he was near perfect. He missed 3 or 4 shots in the first half that you kind of expect him to make, but I didn't think he was passive.
No,
You know what I mean?
So I think as a playmaker, he was great.
And I just think that the Wolves were kind of daring Jamal to do something, and then once he did it, then everything had to overcorrect.
But those, like the Larry Nance New Orleans game, where Larry Nance is like, I've never seen anyone play better than that.
Tonight's the night for it.
If Ant pushes Jokic to that place, I think Jokic understands tonight's the night. Yeah. You got to pounce.
It's a must-win, D-line?
It's not must-win, but if they win this, it's worth 4 games. Like if the Wolves have lost 1 game and it feels so tenuous. Well, they've lost 1 game the entire series, the entire playoffs, and suddenly they're also up 2-1, and their grip seems very tenuous at this exact moment. So the psychological swing that could happen if the Nuggets are able to win this game will be immense, and it will be exactly what we were talking about, that the Wolves have not found themselves in this position. They have not found themselves facing adversity where they are not in the driver's seat. And I don't know, in seeing their players last game and just kind of knowing a lot about a lot of their players, that they have what it takes to get up off the mat once they get punched. So I would say, even though they've been cruising, they're in a rough spot here, which sounds crazy to say, having lost 1 game.
But if they rebound from that, they gain an enormous amount of confidence. If they lose this game, I think they lose an enormous amount of confidence.
That's the point. I mean, but I still feel that the Nuggets are that team that can, even if they drop this game, which at this moment seems unthinkable with the amount of momentum that they've recovered. I still wouldn't count them out. I still wouldn't. It's Jokic versus Cat in a psychological warfare battle. Who's going to win that, So I don't know. It's not, but it is.
I mean, that's the right answer. It's not. The Nuggets, we know, they've come back from 3-1 before. It was in the bubble. It was way different. But the Wolves are actually a team that I could see the Nuggets coming back from 3-1 against. just in terms of their like lack of experience, their personnel, just some of the questions they could be asking themselves in the midst of a 3-1 comeback. So I think you're right. It's not a must-win, but it is.
It's kind of how I feel too. I don't think it's a must-win. I could see Denver coming back, but I will say accumulative wear and tear is going to be a storyline for this Nuggets. Even tonight, I have no idea what we're going to get from Jamal, KCP, and Aaron Gordon. But you certainly were to ask. The Nuggets played 20 games last year, went 16-4. 25 games seems like a lot more, especially with how banged up they are. So, it's going 6 or 7 if Denver is able to win tonight. But nonetheless, I do think get your momentum now, take away their will, and you set yourself up very nicely for a game on Tuesday. The other question of all this comes down to Jamal Murray's health. And if you guys remember, I've been setting the table for this in one way. Murray, we remember as being great in the playoffs last year, but I always said he was way better after about the 6th or 7th game. It took him a little while to warm up. He had some peaks in there, but there were some duds that you don't really remember. But once he got to that level, he kind of stayed locked in. He had last year, 25 points or 10 assists, which for me is a good barometer for Murray. If they're trying to trap you, 10 assists. If they're letting you score, 25 or more. Either 25 or 10, 4 out of the first 7 games last year. I'm sorry, 3 out of the first 7 games. And then 11 out of the last 13. So almost every game after this exact point, he had either 25 or 10 assists. I kind of feel like there's something to this, man. I kind of feel like it takes Murray just a little bit longer than most to get to this point. But mentally, once he gets there, I think he's there.
I think that's true, but I do think the injury changes up that a little bit. And my biggest question right now is just, are we going to see a big difference between the near week off that they had between games 2 and 3 and what he looked like, and the 1 day off that they had between games 3 and 4? Like, I really do believe the biggest reason why Jamal Murray played as well as he did was he had the week off. His body felt as good as it's felt since the playoffs started, maybe even a little better. And that obviously led to a lot of other things. But I'm not ready to say that playoff Jamal Murray is back, because I need to see how he responds again to playing on shorter rest.
Yeah, he's back.
Okay.
Let's go, baby!
I checked the barometer. It's squarely back. No, he's back.
If he's back, the Nuggets are winning the series and the game.
Here's the thing is that he didn't slow down as the game went on.
It's true.
So I have no reason to think that he's getting worse. If it started, bing, he's back. He's back. He's back. You just see it. He had the want in game 2 and just was unable. He just looked so slow, and he couldn't do anything. And he was just then started making bad decisions. He just came out so in control, and he just made good choices, and he made shots, and he didn't slow down, and he didn't look slow. He looked quick again. It's Murray legs watch. We're back on, but I feel like I just felt it. Switch has been flipped. Let's go.
One thing, Malone brought this up pregame, and Murray had a whole week off before that game, and he sure did look better physically. He doesn't have that much time off before this game. It is different. It's a quick turnaround on a strained calf. So that would be my only concern is he had a lot of rest. Lots of stretch, but relatively, it was a lot of rest. And it's different this time around. So that's one thing that I think makes it different than just the mental aspect of has Jamal figured this out. The other thing about Jamal, though, to your point, is we often think of him as, just the tough shot making and the bravado. But as we saw in the finals last year, a much smarter player than given credit for, and more to the point, that is a bigger part of his game than we often talk about. And so we always say, did Jokic figure something out? Well, did Jamal Murray figure something out?
Great point. Love this take.
And I think sometimes he does, and I think that was part of it in the Wolves series last year. Different teams, different stage, different scenario. But the injury is really, of course, my biggest hang-up. Otherwise, I'd have high expectations.
All right, let's quickly go through the Circle K Who's Gonna Eat segment. We got to it a little bit late today. We want to talk about some notes. I'll start over here. Vote who's gonna eat tonight.
I'm going to go with Jokic. I kind of outlined this one already. Again, he's been eating all postseason. He's the only guy who could finish a series top 2 in every stat, and we're he hasn't stepped up yet, He's been really great all postseason, but he has even more to give. And I only say that because I think he's one of the very, very, very best to ever play. Like we said, this is it, man. This is the game. Could you technically talk yourself into a 3-1 comeback? Sure. why bother? This is the moment where you can put all the pressure on Minnesota. Ant's going to come out and try to be the best player in the world. Don't let him. I think it's that. I don't want to say it's that simple because a player like Jokic is up to far more than just battle of wills. He's at his best controlling, dictating, reading the floor like no other. But the will is part of it. And if he needs it, right? If Anthony Edwards is responding to everything, will he have that Godzilla game that I don't even care if I'm double teamed, I'm scoring. It's in him. And I think he's going to make sure that they leave Minnesota with a W tonight.
Who's going to eat, D-Lane?
Jamal. Jamal's going to eat. He's back. He's hungry. He's back. He went to Circle K. He's got a Polar Pop next to
Not
Harrison.
thirsty anymore, just hungry.
What did you get? What was your Polar Pop flavor?
Oh, Cyclone.
Cyclone.
No, wait, what's it called?
Suicide?
Suicide.
Holy smokes. I love it, dude. I love a man walking into a must-win game with a suicide. That's the guy
I
I
had
want on
no
my
choice. Just had to suicide on
That's the
that.
guy I want on my side.
Had to.
What are we
It's gonna-
talking about?
What do you get in the Polar Pop? Yeah, Jamal Murray. It's on. It's on.
What about you, Wind?
I think it could be a big game for Christian Brown. Loved how he defended Anthony Edwards last game. And I feel like there's room for him to play even more than the 18 minutes that he logged in game 3. So he hit a 3 as well. It could be a big game for him.
I like it. I'm going to go Yoke, too, because they need it. I just think it's Jokic night. It's got to be a reminder game from him. Let's find it out. All right, open up, everybody. The Bet365 Never Ordinary app. Some quick bets here.
All right, we put these are going on our social as well because I'm filling it for Dev in every way, shape, or form. Number one, I like the Nuggets money line plus 142. That's good value for a team that I really think has taken control of the series, as crazy as it sounds. I just like the way that where the Nuggets sit at this moment. I also, as I alluded to, I like Jamal Murray to eat tonight over 21 and a half points. That'll get you.
That's so
you can
low.
get that at exactly. You can get that at minus 112. I just see he and Jokic putting on a masterclass this evening. And I like Nikola Jokic to record a triple-double. He keeps knocking on the door. Last time he missed it by a single assist. I mean, it just seems like this is the game to pull out all the stops, that Jokic is going to be wheeling, dealing, and scoring. And to that end, I like Nikola Jokic over 40 and a half points plus rebounds.
Just points and rebounds tonight.
Just
Wow.
points and rebounds. He's been getting rebounds every game in this series. The assists have been the one that are a little up and down, but obviously I think he's going to get assists too, since I'm also recommending the triple-double. Let's go.
Jokic 1.5 threes is staring at me. Gets a lot of them. Gets a lot of chances.
He'll hit at least 1 3, that's for sure. Will he
Plus
hit 2? Will he hit
155?
2?
I'm taking it. A Jokic reminder game, especially against the Twin Towers, that involves a couple threes.
A Jokic reminder game would feed so many families tonight.
I know.
Mostly ours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we will be eating.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that does it. We
Glorious
got a couple
feasts.
super chats here.
Cedric Exquisite, us winning tonight equals best Mother's Day gift ever.
Shock at a win.
Yeah. For your mom, though, right? Cedric Exquisite. P.S. I'm wearing Gary Harris shirt for good luck, by the way.
All right.
Let's go.
All right. Nice.
Our guy, SW2, live from Target Center in a DNVR shirt.
Oh,
Let's
damn.
fucking go. Let's stay on parade. KCP dialed in during warm-ups. Happy
All right.
late B,
That's
Davo.
it. I'm popping back on.
Thank you, brother.
KCP dial.
Nice report from behind enemy lines.
I
from
know.
our
Where's
guy.
Dev at? I didn't get that report from Dev. Come on, man. We're trying to make bets
Yeah,
over
Dev's
here.
just celebrity sighting.
Last word
Courtside.
goes to my guy, Bashir Daoud.
Downstairs.
The whistle and the threes will determine this game. Hashtag MV3.
Oh, I hope you're wrong.
All right, boys. Once more, huh? Once more into the fire.
Once more into the fray, dear friends.
Let's go.
Everybody, thanks for hanging with us. Go on over to the watch along. Let's watch this thing with all together. Bring the vibes, bring the positive energy. Bring your mom. If you have Mother's Day, bring her along. She might enjoy it. Hit the like button on
Yeah,
the way
Dev's
out.
not here. Bring
Why
your
not?
mom. It's
Yeah.
fine.
We all silly like the mayor.